This is the audio description. In this video, NPS employees use hand tools, jacks, and support boards to work around historic vehicles and wagons. Additional description follows.
My name is Curtis Sullivan, and I'm from Harpers Ferry Center. I'm the Wood and Artifacts Conservator, and we are at Joshua Tree National Park at Keys Ranch today.
Historic Keys Ranch, a number of wooden buildings in a group with a fence made of large downed logs stacked. NPS employees use a large jack to lift one wagon wheel off the ground. Curtis and employees from Joshua Tree National Park work to remove failing supports under historic vehicles and wagons once owned by Bill Keys. Staff dig under various historic vehicles and wagons to replace wooden supports.
So at Keys Ranch, there's a lot of historic vehicles.
Rusted yellow Jeep with a small wooden trailer. The front seat cushion of the Jeep has been reduced down to the spring frame. Employees move around the vehicle working.
And we are trying to slow down the corrosion. The tires are getting rotted, the metal is corroding, and we're trying to preventively slow down that process.
Black and white photo of a man on a wagon being pulled by mules.
A lot of these vehicles Bill Keys was using actively. So for instance, like his Willys Jeep, he was probably driving that around in the 50s and 60s.
Black and white photo of Bill Keys standing next to a headstone with a Willys Jeep in the background. Another photo of the Willys Jeep parked in front of the Keys Ranch home in the same location as it is today.
So the vehicle itself has been here for a very long time. The Park Service has been maintaining that since the late 70s.
Workers remove damaged wood blocks from under the vehicles. The blocks are cracked, split, and show termite damage.
So there was originally wood blocks put in. Some of them were probably put in when the Park Service had gotten the site from the Keys. Those blocks have been here for a long time. A lot of those had a lot of termite damage. So between the termite damage and the fact that these blocks are holding up very heavy vehicles, some of them literally had cracked, so we were trying to replace those.
Curtis uses a large jack to lift the front of the Jeep off the ground, and a smaller jack to lift one wheel of the armored truck. To replace the failed blocking under the vehicles, crews first lifted one portion of the vehicle using a variety of heavy-duty jacks. Staff used a small shovel to dig out the old block and remove it from under the trailer. Once the failed blocking was dug out of the wind-blown sand and removed, team members measured and prepared the new materials. Employees stacked blocks of various sizes under the armored truck.
Wherever the block was placed at before, we took that into account when I was trying to calculate where the new block should be.
Staff uses a rake to remove wind-blown sand from under the vehicles. Curtis uses a jack under the leaf spring to lift the wheel off the ground.
Some places we decided to put them in a different spot. So like they had put them, for instance, under an axle. Instead, we decided to put those blocks where the leaf springs and the axles come together, which is a much stronger union.
Various blocks under the vehicles at the strongest points.
We just had to make sure that it was in a very strong place, where the vehicle has the most support.
Employees measuring heights and inspecting current blocks. The new support boards are made from recycled plastic and aluminum. A variety of 6x6s were used to achieve the appropriate height to lift the wheels off the ground. Staff placing a large flat board as the base for support, while 2x8s and 2x10s were used to provide a wider base to better distribute the heavy weight. Employees using drills and hand tools to fasten the boards to each other. The bottom pieces were attached together using stainless steel screws, while the 6x6s were lagged together using stainless steel legs.
We've added back in those blocks and brought the vehicles back up in the air.
Flat wheel on the truck lifted in the air.
No longer are they touching the ground. When we picked the recycled material to use under for blocking, we picked a dark color that was more UV resistant, but they're also very resistant because nothing wants to eat them.
Staff carry large, dark brown recycled blocks from the storage pile to the vehicles in the landscape.
They are not porous like wood, so they're not going to soak the water up.
Staff lifts a wagon wheel with a large jack. For the wagons, the crews used heavy-duty jacks to lift one wheel at a time to remove the failed support board. Measuring the old board, the crews created new supports to keep the wheels out of the sand. Crews then placed the new support boards and lowered the wheel back down before moving on to the next. Curtis rubs a rag on the metal part of a wagon wheel with wax from a small can. The team also treated some of the metal and wood on the wagons. They used a synthetic microcrystalline wax with a dark pigment on the metal and an oil-based preservative on the wood. A brown liquid is applied liberally to a wooden post using a paintbrush.
The metal is pretty resistant to UV. This is a sacrificial coating, so that takes the brunt of the weathering, and the metal is protected.
Curtis wears a protective glove while applying the dark wax.
The wood preservative that we're using is X100. It's an oil-based preservative that has UV inhibitors.
Employee pours brown oil from a large bucket into a small container. 4 wagons are lined up in a row. Curtis creating supports for a large vehicle. Curtis and the employees at Joshua Tree replaced the support boards for the 4 wagons, the Willys Jeep, the Mack truck, the armored vehicle, the Fortson tractor, and other miscellaneous agricultural attachments and equipment. National Park Service, National Park Service Arrowhead, Historic Preservation Training Center. Credits: videographer, producer, and editor, Christy Rugg. Audio description, Christy Rugg. Music: Love You by Ezekiel Raz.